Shop's Basement. Hosted by John Quennell, Danny McDevitt, Val Heffelfinger. I'm Trickie, and it's Grim After Dark. Guys, my name is John, and I'm back behind the desk again, poorly lit, but ready to misinform, annoy, and talk about the goings-on in the world of Warhammer, not Star Wars. Do not leave. There will be none of that talk this week. Over the last week, it's a task so massive that I cannot do it alone. Thank God I don't have to, as we welcome our amazing, humble, and award-winning co-host. First up here is my good friend. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table. He's played some games, and this week he might actually get to talk about them. But let's give a warm welcome to Danny NyQuil McDevitt.
Guys, I'm here, but not in a good way. I'm here to fulfill my contractually obligated appearance. So,
because for someone in law school, you do not read contracts that you sign beforehand, and that's.
I tried to negotiate several times, but Val he won't tell me where he's hidden my dog. And
well, we're not going to be able to find that out either this week because Val's taken the week off in order to properly hide Danny's dog legally in Canada. But this week we do have, he is one of the co-hosts and brains behind one of the most numeralicious podcasts out there. It's Dr. Nathaniel Henning PhD, pretty huge deal from StatCheck.
Nice.
Hi everybody. That was by far wow. That is definitely the biggest nameplate. I don't think I've actually had Dr. N PhD put into a nameplate before.
Would that be because it means the same thing?
It's because it's part of the redundancy department of redundancy. But hello everyone. It's great to be back now on the show on a different format, I suppose.
How like a 40K player, a competitive 40K player, to have double redundancy in their name.
Built-in redundancy in case one fails.
Even made my nickname on like several servers Dr. Stats Dad because I just needed, despite not being a dad, but being redundant because Doctor just needed to be in every place that I do stuff.
That's fair.
I mean, you're a dad because of your co-hosts. Like, let's be real.
It's true. Outside of Cliff and Jeremy, I think there's just that's it.
You're the on-air parent to off-air children. That is true.
Well, and on-air children.
there's a lot of I have a lot of children in our Discord as well that I have to take care of on the regular.
What's the biggest pain in the ass you've had to take care of so far? Like, what's a situation where you're like, God damn it? You don't have to name names, but we do know it's Innes already.
It definitely was Innes, and he definitely did pull something that required an apology later.
Hey, I have a question for you. What's the weirdest time you've been called daddy?
Probably on Monday night on a Warhammer podcast.
Some people have called me Stats Daddy in person.
Awesome.
Which is fine.
No.
But
I may have done that, but I want you to know that it was definitely ironic and not.
It was really funny. But one time it was definitely, I think, on a show or like when I was a guest on something, and my wife was in the other room and heard it, and she was like, "What?" Just sticking her head around the corner, going, "What podcast network are you on today?"
It's Cam Girls. Don't worry, it's not Warhammer.
Good thing I used my real name for this.
Yeah, good thing I used my real name and credentials all over this.
So this might surprise you guys here, but our co-host Val Heffelfinger, that's a nom de plume. It's a fake name. Mm-hmm. Nathan, if you were to start again, what would your fake name be so that people didn't call you Dr. Stats Daddy, Nathaniel Henning PhD?
I don't know. I'd probably just pick something like John, something generic.
So generic, yeah. Something you could make wild statements about. Just have people fucking message you at 2 a.m. to be like, why do you think this? And I'm like, guys, I've had trash Warhammer opinions for years.
You act like people don't slide into my DMs occasionally and just like ask me questions.
What's the weirdest time someone's asked you for a probability on a reroll?
Nobody's asked me that, but people will message me and they'll ask about like why factions are bad and stuff like that, or they'll tell me why factions aren't bad. And every now and then people will like ring my bell by tagging me and things and be like, hey, come over here and tell me what the stats are, and then yell at me because they don't like my answer.
Simply just change the math. Do something else.
Just fudge the bed. Simple as, man.
Baby.
Just use statistics to lie in order to make me look good, Nathan. That's what you're supposed to be here for.
That's what statistics are for.
Yeah, definitely. All the time.
Brother, it's the ITC way. That's how you get to the top.
Definitely not.
Gotta milk that algorithm.
I was the #1 Gellerpox infected player in southern Alaska. That is a true statistic.
Man, we went really narrow there.
Look, sometimes to get a good result, you have to really narrow the results by removing all of them.
True.
Yeah,
that is definitely what that one person who plays like the assassination faction that doesn't even exist as a thing.
Do you think like when they're doing that
per year,
and some guy messages and it's like, hey, can you add Inquisition as a faction? That's my main faction. You just want to reply with like, or Reese is like, no, it's not. Please just stop talking.
Too bad it is now for sure. They have an Agents of the Imperium boarding patrol coming out, dude.
They do.
Oh, dang.
Although it has like the worst assassin in it and has the ever-serve assassin.
Whoa. Wait a minute. What do you mean by the worst? The coolest? Or maybe second?
The worst current rules.
Oh.
Was there something bad about exploding from rage when you die? That's,
Rage and chemicals, yes. I think the shape-shifting one is the coolest one.
Oh, come on. The Calidus?
Sorry.
I mean, she's cool.
Yeah.
She's no Calexis. The Calexis is obviously the coolest one.
I think you actually are probably right. The Calexis is the coolest one.
It's just a bunch of guys and gals in tight body suits with skull faces.
Yeah, dude.
That's
a bunch
all
of gimmicks with tight bodysuits to hide their red hair behind their skull masks.
That is like 90% of the Imperium's aesthetic after power armor and shoulder pads.
It's true.
I will say I gave 0 shits about assassins in general until Kingmaker, and now I give all the shits about assassins because that's a great book.
Because Kingmaker has like one of the assassin guilds that never shows up in anything else. Yeah. Except just in this one. We're like, oh yeah, there's a planning assassin, by the way.
They're like, oh, you're an assassin.
He's a logistical assassin.
What are your weapons? Is it a sniper rifle, a knife? Do you sneak in the shadows or change forms? Like, no, I file paperwork. Deadly paperwork.
The most deadly assassin in an over-large, slowly decaying fascist.
Perfect.
Theocracy.
Perfect. He slows down the bureaucracy. Guys, so we're going to move on here for a little bit. We're going to remind some people of assumed proportions. Danny, we brought this up last week. This was a classic slide here. The rearrange your spines for the Emperor and our new Terminators.
I don't even see how that's really against a Primaris's physique. Who said that they had necks?
It's a good point, really.
Call, to be fair. But Nathan, what's your opinions on these Terminators? Are you surprised to see basically just an upscaling of the existing models?
I'm not surprised. I actually think these models are great. The horrible posture aside, because I assume they just must be leaning forward slightly just for the entire battle, just like hunched forward with their head pointed like straight that way.
Well, I do have an update on this because I found a different MS Paint line drawing that the better shows.
Really?
Here.
New evidence.
Yeah. Let's throw up the next one.
All right, well, let's see this.
What do we think about?
Look at that.
Oh, dang.
What do we think about Chunky Boy?
I'm into it. I think that's exactly what it looks like on the inside.
Danny, not that we even actually upload
except for
these
one
as
notable
podcasts.
difference.
Not that we even upload these as podcasts anymore, but go ahead, describe what we're seeing.
So what we're seeing is a shaded out version, airbrushed white a little bit, if you will, kind of a mist over the new Terminator model from various different angles with a stick figure of a very muscular man, which is kind of oxymoronic for a stick figure, right? Like a stick figure should not be muscular, but somehow they've made it work. They've really boosted the chest. He popped off that shirt, and he's really got it going. Those pecs are popping.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it shows him, and it shows him kind of as Nathan just described, like a minute ago, like kind of leaning forward with no neck, like I described. So it's a combination effort between Nathan and I to come up with the exact correct image.
They have a neck. They just have crazy whatever these muscles here. I mean, I'm no doctor, so I couldn't tell you what that muscle group is.
Yeah,
I'm also
sure.
a very unfit man. But they have one of these lines here. They're like the
I
Rock.
think it's called the yoke, John.
They have shoulder muscles. Is that what those are? Those are. I'm not a human anatomist, John.
Look,
Throwing you
all I
soft
know is-
pitches here, Nathan. You can't even come up with the answer.
all I know
came
is
up with
that
something
on a
close.
plane, when they call, is there a doctor present? They're going to be really disappointed when you say yes, but you will be able to say yes.
As I always tell people when they ask me if I can fix things, no, I'm here to dismantle bodies, not to put them back together.
Oh, terrible. Danny, does that change your mind? Do you think that's like a better, more accurate proportion of how like Primaris actually are?
John, I was
or how
already into the
Marines
first
actually
one.
are?
There's no mind changing needed. I'm ready to go. I'm sold on these Terminators. I think they look cool as hell.
So combining this with the news we found today about, and I'm going to throw some shade here. So the awful looking new Primaris Lieutenant, or the new Space Marine Lieutenant, we see a dropping of the Primaris entirely from the name. That guy is just being labeled as a Space Marine Lieutenant. Primaris not really kind of separated anymore. Is this guy's the end of baby Marines as we know it?
I think they're just going to upscale all the baby Marines to be what like people call true scale.
Yeah, get them out.
I actually
Yeah.
agree. I wish they would just get rid of them.
F them. Get them out of town. Put them on a boat. Ship them to San Francisco. And let's just be done with it.
Just Legends, Tactical Marines, and stuff like that. Legends, all
do it.
small Marine
Oh my
units.
God.
Keep them in heresy.
People would be so mad. Well, they've even started like kind of upscaling the heresy ones, so there's that there too. Man, this is getting a little serious though, so I want to pull this up here. Danny, if you want to describe the next slide in the case for the audio listener.
Well, it's a dead orc, and he's been he's had an autopsy performed on him where they crack the ribs and spread them and pull out its internal organs, and then it looks like they've opened up one of his legs to look at the musculature and the bone structure. But most importantly, it's a big red circle around a blank crotch that says, "Fun fact: orcs are immune to cock and ball torture."
So
Yeah, that was always the case.
as true as
I
that might
wasn't
be,
sure, to be honest. Now I'm glad I know. That's really good.
guys, what kind of torture does work on orcs aside from orc players?
You just don't let them wah, or you don't let them fight. You like make them watch somebody else fight without them being able to participate, and they have to listen to somebody else wah without being able to wah.
Water torture.
Sure.
Waterboarding?
Water torture.
Oh, and also, no.
Waterboarding.
Wow.
I was gonna say waterboarding just to say waterboarding, like, because it's a really shitty, like, it sucks to get tortured that way. But no, like, okay, cool. You guys can make a joke about it, but for real, orcs don't like waterboarding.
Can orcs
I don't
not
think
swim?
anyone does. Like, is there a faction that would enjoy it?
We need to
Necrons.
check with Seth to see if Seth can tell us if orcs can swim.
Dude, one of my favorite Vegas memories. One of my favorite Vegas memories was Seth just getting really frustrated at myself, Danny, and Peter the Falcon, just asking him ridiculous goddamn questions and not dropping it like at all. Like he was like, "Well, I answered this." I'm like, "Did you?" It was fantastic.
Oh,
Guys, and then Dr. Senor Stats. Does an orc
Dr. Senor Stats?
well, for our listeners south of the border,
does an orc sit down to pee?
I don't think. I mean, based on that groin picture, it doesn't even look like the orcs need to pee.
Because we know
they just have a cloaca.
This has been established.
That's what I
before.
was gonna say, actually, Danny. I was gonna say they're like birds. They just have a cloaca.
Do you think that they do the collateral kiss when they mate?
I don't think. God damn it! I don't think. I think orcs just are fungus, Danny. They
Oh
just,
my god!
they just spores.
What a great time to bring up our wonderful show sponsors, Frontline Gaming. If you are wanting to purchase any gaming supplies, frontlinegaming.org has all of your Games Workshop products at a 15% discount, as well as a fantastic secondhand store and a painting service. But, Daddy, I will say now, what faction is most susceptible to cock and ball torture?
Sorry, what was that, John? I missed it. I was blowing my nose for a second. After laughing so hard, I cried.
What I was asking is, what faction is most susceptible to cock and ball torture if it's not the orcs?
Oh, there's a simple answer to that, John. And it's Slaanesh demons, surprisingly enough.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
the quickest way to distract them from anything is that.
Yeah.
Or letting them perform that. I mean, it's a equal opportunity employer there.
Yep. That's fair. Now we do have a little bit of work business to take care of before we move on to kind of our next image that we found here. A week or two ago, Danny, you brought up the challenge that I told you that was stupid that you shouldn't bring up. That if anyone donated $100 a month, $100 a month to the show, that you would with kind of full enthusiasm. And I think there's no better week to pull that out, because we did have a very dumb listener who did donate $100 for
what
you
an
to
idiot.
I will say, Danny, Dickie is working on getting the levels perfect, so we're not blowing out any speakers.
Just getting the compressors working here. Yep.
We're getting the progressors working, and then we're gonna do like a slow, silent count to 5, and then if you give us your best, most thoughtful, most emotional why you can.
I can count them in. It's okay. I'll count them in.
Okay, you count them in.
Ready?
If you can hear my voice is extra great today, so I appreciate this, Kelsey. This is all for you.
Ready?
Thank
5,
you.
4, 3, 2, 1. Guys, I did want to apologize, guys. I instead of changing the levels, I just muted Danny for that. So yeah.
Yes, it's $100 to what? It's $200 to hear it.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Kelsey. Thank you so much for your support.
I'm
surprised you actually did it, because we told you beforehand we would mute you. And I was not expecting you to actually do it. So good job.
I'm sorry that it was so loud.
That's fair. That's fair. Oh yeah, I'm deafened. I can't even continue.
I don't even know where I am.
Running gags are great in the 40k universe, guys. Can you think of any running gags that kind of go on throughout the faction? So we have things like, for me, like Abaddon not having any arms, or like the Avatar getting punked by pretty much everyone that comes across. Sure. I found this here on Reddit. It says GW asks you to add a running gag for each faction, but without interfering too much with the setting tone. What do you add?
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Tau birth rates are declining due to their use of body pillows. That should be the running gag for Tau from now until forever, because they don't really have one.
Do you think that the Tau Empire has a one calf policy? And that's really effective, and they're really trying to reverse that now. Just after years of like one calf.
Wow.
They usually is restricted to a one calf policy, but the veal cast allows them to make a lot more if they so choose, but they just have to enter that ahead of time.
I would like to add to the lore
sedentary work, John, to work with a veal cast.
Iron Hands, they cut off their hand to replace it. That's like their simple thing, right? That's like the lore thing, right, Danny? I would like for scouts and initiates to have to wear a glove that just looks like they have an iron hand, but it's like a little fake one. Until they earn the right of having their hand cut off.
You mean like the
Like it's
like
just
the
a green
leggings that
glove,
look
so
like
it can be
jeans, but it looks like
Yeah.
a bionic hand?
yeah, and so they could earn having their hand cut off in battle.
It's just a green sleeve like they put on what's his face during Deadpool 2 that they showed during the preview of the movie because they hadn't finished the CG yet for it.
yeah.
Perfect.
There's a movie called Velocipaster as well, which is a
Oh,
great
yeah.
terrible B movie.
Velocipaster.
Yeah, it was a pastor who turned into a velociraptor
Clearly.
at night.
At night.
Clearly, but there was a scene where like his parents died, and because their car blew up, and the explosion was just insert explosion CG here is all the scene said, and it was quality. I loved it. It was super good.
Really
Nathan, what would you add to the setting in order to improve?
I guess blood claws all have to be muzzled until they become full Space Marines.
I like it.
Or there's like a cone of shame. Because they add 21 organs, but they also remove 2.
It's true, so they have to wear the cone of shame.
The Wolfguard battle leader has a like one of those barking collars so he can zap them when they
There's
get
a
too uppity.
ceremonial cone that's like
Perfect.
I would like if Thousand Sons had to act like Vegas magicians whenever they were casting psychic powers, so they were all like big
you
and like
act like
big
that's
giant
not
hand motions
already
and
the
moves.
lore, bud.
I'm sorry. Yeah, do they
That's
not do
already
that?
the
'Cause that's
lore.
how I always
don't know what
pictured
you're
it.
talking
That's what
about.
helped me to bring realism to my battles, John. Was them doing
See,
some hand
it's all-
flare.
It's all
Now you
Lance
see your
Burton
10-man
fucking
squad
making
No,
down
you
to
don't.
3. Is this your card? Should be a stratagem in 10th edition, absolutely. Dickie, what about you? Oh, in the production booth, what would you add lore-wise that wouldn't ruin the game?
Karn wasn't that bad of a guy. That's what I would add.
That's already in
It's
the
already
lore.
the lore.
It's already there. So I mean,
You could have at least
it's-
said
Well,
something
his
about
nickname's the Betrayer. I'm not sure, like people.
It's not
get
his
it.
fault that he's so angry.
you would make him Karn the Loyal?
Yeah,
what?
they're not that bad guy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Karn
guys,
the-
come
yeah,
on.
Just
Karn, but
ruin a
not that
character is
bad,
what you would
dude.
do, is what it sounds like.
How they?
Okay,
Karn,
okay,
the not
that's a great
quite
point.
So
Yeah.
violent.
Danny, ruin a Warhammer character, just the way like Dickie just ruined Karn.
Jesus. I'm muting
We're making
myself.
sure.
I'm muting myself.
Welcome.
Kodiaz only wears soiled women's underwear.
What?
But not where you think.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's over his heart.
Oh my god.
Chat's coming in with the new names of Karn the hell of a guy and Karn the okay dude.
Karn the average Joe.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Be like
Karn the
Abaddon,
everyman.
Abaddon
gonna
the
say-
world flipper. Like he doesn't
Oh.
despoil words, he just improves them and sells them on for profit.
Oh man.
That's a,
Nice.
There's a new network in the Warhammer 40k universe for like new homes. The only thing to last across the apocalypse in 40,000 years is HGTV. And one of them
And
is Abaddon's world flipper.
And also real estate profiteering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I love it. Those are all good. Moving on, we got this guy here. It's called I call this one Night Maybe. This guy here showed how's my progress. What do you think about that night, guys? Also bonus points to if people can see where he messed up.
Do you guys want to see here? I'll
Well,
keep
who
it up for
wants to tell
longer.
him?
I'll keep it up for longer.
Yeah.
I can't
Where did he
see
mess up?
because the
Oh,
HD that we were supposed to see.
Yeah,
doesn't give
you
me
don't
enough
see an
detail.
HD. Well,
Oh, that's true.
maybe that's where
true.
he fucked up.
I will
I
say
can tell
he
you.
fucked up. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
He built that fucking night variant.
Yeah,
Aw.
dude. Yeah.
Oh
Who
boy.
builds a desecrator, man?
jeez.
Just take
Yeah.
3 war dogs.
Oh.
No, he glued it on upside down.
Did he?
And that leads me to ask the question here. What is the worst mistake that you guys have made on model construction? Where you're like,
Definitely-
God damn it.
I glued
definitely
Asriel's
built
belt on
models.
upside down.
You did. You
Oh.
totally agree with that.
You
fella.
did.
So the model that
Oh.
got showcased on GW's website, his belt is upside down.
I like that the two models that we've had showcased in our positions as influencers for GW were an Angron with an unpainted base rim and an Azrael built incorrectly. And I think we should keep that going, and every model we submit should have one small error. And that way people don't notice our paint jobs.
To humanize you. It's to humanize you as celebrities in the 40K community.
Yeah. What about you, Alstatio Sanchez? What do you think was that? Well, because Dickie keeps changing your nameplate, so I'm trying to guess where he's going with it. What's a mistake you've made building where you're like, no, but it's too late?
I have definitely built models backwards, like their torsos the wrong direction. With Tyranids, it doesn't matter. You're like, nobody's gonna know that those legs are supposed to be pointing the other way. There have been many a model that I've had to like put in the freezer to break super glue because I wasn't paying enough attention to what I was doing. Yeah, but mostly the biggest errors that you can see is like most of my Reaver jet bikes, my Dark Eldar Reaver jet bike riders, are not actually like in their seats because I didn't position them, so their feet are on the pedals.
They're just holding on for dear life.
They're just hanging on for dear life.
You know, when you stand up on your bicycle to get extra power, that's what they're doing.
It's true, but crouched at the same time.
Right.
My biggest mistake, I got a Warlord Titan for a Titanicus that I was building, and I put the legs on backwards.
Oh, I remember that.
I didn't notice until the plastic glue had already completely set. Oof. And I had to swear, and this is a $100 plus model, so I had to swear loudly and try and fix it. So now it sort of works, but instead of standing straight and proud, he's kind of leaning forward a little bit because the knees were already locked in place. It almost made me quit Titanicus entirely, a game I haven't played since. But
I haven't quit.
Solid.
But I haven't quit. I still have all the models. I have a shitload of baby nights for it. This next one is a blast from the past. Danny, I know you're going to recognize it. Nathan, I think you will too. It's titled The Greatest Game. Danny, for the audio listener, what are we looking at here?
So this was a game, I think this was at ETC in yesteryear, and there's a gentleman who's playing, I think it's a White Scars army with no vehicles, so he couldn't, and he outflanked or reserved his entire army, so his opponent, who was playing Tau, put Kroot along the entire backfield board edge because they could infiltrate up that far so that his opponent could not come on the table, and his whole army died on turn 3 when they couldn't come in.
Yeah. I think like it was described as like this was a known guy who did this strategy of reserving his entire army. So after you deployed, he could just kind of come into the weakest point and clean up. And this guy specifically built a list to counter that. Yeah. And then the picture also shows a very 90s style picture of the White Scars player talking to a judge to be like, please, why let me do this? And then the most arrogant picture I've seen of a player.
I love that picture.
Come on, man. You
posing down. Dude, you have to. It's amazing. He's smiling because he knows exactly what he did. Man, that's so good. It is an ancient meme. It's 5th edition. So we're almost like double the way here. What, guys, is the modern equivalent of this? Not anything quite to that level, because I don't think anything to that level has been, but like what's a moment in the game of the past like 5-6 years where you're like, man, that was a giant fucking troll?
I killed like 3 units of deep striking Marines one time because I screened out the entire table.
That's true. It's true. Let's go on. I love this one here. What's the greatest troll move someone's pulled on you?
Oh man,
like it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be like, hey, I lost the game because of this, or like I won the game. It's just that what has someone done to you specifically to annoy you?
Oh,
go ahead.
Danny. I know some stuff.
Go, Danny. Go.
Yeah.
You, John, rolling one dice at a time. Even when you don't have to, just to fucking piss me off because you can. You're like,
I do that on
legally it says I'm able to roll one dice at a time. And you're like, well, here you go, one dice. We're gonna roll.
So
I do that on TTS a lot. with like when I have to make one important save on TTS, I will definitely do it to some people. I'll just roll one die at a time
In
and
my
somehow
defense,
make 12 out of 13 saves on something that way.
I
Yeah,
know
definitely do that.
I know Danny gets tilted by slow rolling or the way it's supposed to be done by the rules officially.
Oh my god!
And I think it was one character that statistically there was no way he would survive this attack that just kind of went into him. So I did individually slow roll. I didn't look at the dice as they were rolled. I maintained eye contact with Danny the whole time to see the full disgust from his face.
Yeah.
And I think what made it more disgusting is I started making quite a few of those saves that I shouldn't. He did die eventually, but it took long enough that it irritated you even more.
Terrible.
It was fantastic. Oh, whew. Hey guys,
Love
this is just a little warning here. Don't add me to groups. I will mind them for content. I got this from a chat group that I got added to. I took out the name of the person in the chat group, but it said this guy used to correct everyone in lore, then say, "I am the fluff master." Daddy, Nathan, what are the cringiest things you've heard in Warhammer recently?
Recently? I mean, the one that always reminds me the most is the one time I was told I wasn't allowed to have an opinion on competitive balance because I played good armies. I was like, what? What? How? I no longer have like a proper perspective on the game or 40k in general because I play a good faction, is what I was told once.
Well, it's true. That was me,
true.
everyone.
It actually was not you, strangely enough. There's like all sorts of people on Twitter who try to use like normal science from like our non-science fiction world to like justify a bunch of stuff in 40k, and I just all that stuff is cringy. Every time I see it, I'm like, guys, you can't do this. Please stop trying to explain monstrous super soldiers created as children to fight for their entire lives with modern day science. It's just not going good places.
But that's not how genetics work, and I know it's 38,000 years in the future. Danny, what about you? What's some cringe where you've like eye rolled hard?
John, there's been so much. I mean, I'm on the internet all the time. Like, I'm on Facebook. I've seen some of these posts. I've just seen some like just fucking garbage takes on things, like terribly sexist things. I've seen terribly racist things. Like, I've seen it all. There's a lot of cringy moments out there.
Dude, Danny doing like an almost modified version of Roy's speech from the end of Blade Runner. Time to die. Just
yeah.
There's a lot of too near to like fascism stuff in the community at times, which is all very frightening, but also very cringy.
Bro, Warhammer's for everyone, man. That means I can be a total dick weasel. Like it's for everyone. They said it.
No, so
no.
We can talk about. We can talk about how tolerance requires you to be intolerant, but we can do that later after the show.
This is not a serious show. We will not talk.
We're not going to have a serious conversation. I always threaten Danny with a serious conversation on this show, and he always gets mad at me.
I won't do it.
We don't do that.
I won't engage in it.
What's the cringiest thing you guys have seen at a tournament?
Oh man. Jesus.
Oh.
Go, Danny's got one.
Go, Danny.
Yeah, Dickie, you'll love this one.
Yeah.
We had to have a TO ask one of our people to please put some shoes and socks back on while they were playing at the convention.
Sometimes your feet get sore, man. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, yeah, okay, that's fine. Just sit down.
Buy comfortable
let your
shoes.
feet rest a little bit. Take off your shoes. I get that. That make them comfy. Don't then strip down to your bare feet and then walk around a convention center. Like, that is disgusting.
I stand strong with Mark Perry, sir. I stand strong with Mark Perry. Yeah,
Dickie coming out with I stand with Mark Perry shirts.
Mark Perry. I'm getting it.
Just fucking hobbit feet on the bottom.
Yeah, I didn't know Canadians had swamp feet.
Let's get some merch. Wrong. Merch is happening for sure.
Moving on. This next one here I titled The Worst Take. which I think tells you what it is. This guy said, an op-ed I wrote while reviewing the Hedonites of Slaanesh battle tome. And the article is titled, The New Warhammer Slaanesh book is scared of sex. Guys, why is the Slaanesh book afraid of sex?
I mean, have you seen Slaanesh demons? Dude.
There are other forms of excess, folks. It doesn't just have to be
Also, yes.
sex. It could be something
Yeah.
else. You could
So that's sort
be
of my
obsessed with
follow-up here.
eating.
Slaanesh isn't like a sex thing. Like you said, it's success, it's perfection, right? So why do you guys think it is that Slaanesh players misunderstand what Slaanesh is more than any other player?
I mean, it would require them. Ah, man, that's a basement dwelling joke. I just won't do it. I can't do it.
No.
We're in the basement right now.
That's why you're here.
How
We're
would,
literally in the
how would
basement.
you
It's in the
even
intro.
know? How would you even know, Age of Sigmar fans? How would you even know?
Aw.
John, are you familiar with the concept of horniness? And are
No.
you familiar with its context in the normal like average gamer? Like, and it's real fucking high, dude.
Sir, I play Chaos Knights and Nurgle. You would hope that I don't know horniness because that just seems like a random thing.
I bet I can find some pictures that would change your mind there. Like more specific pictures. I bet I can find some.
I've definitely seen the Tau fan people art
Oh, yeah, that's rough.
on the
What?
internet.
So what would make this person happy? Make me a rule or a unit for the Slaanesh that would make this person happy.
Oh, okay.
A spell name like Ecstatic Orgy. I don't know.
The Crab Knucklers. A unit of demonettes solely devoted to pleasure, but with special claws.
Mm-hmm.
They
Fifth
have
one.
they have 2 claws for the primary attack.
Right. And then a
One-
third smaller secondary claw on each arm.
Oh no!
For a
To
secondary
achieve
attack.
ultimate shocking, an
Perfection.
ultimate shocking level of penetration.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh,
Aren't you glad he came on tonight, Nathan?
Yeah.
I'm so glad I came on tonight, guys.
I made it special for you, Nathan.
We
I
went,
toned it
we went
down.
all the way back to the '90s high school jokes. There, we were. Wow, we've gone.
Oh,
real
it can
back.
go back
Oh.
further than that. Let me tell you. We're just starting.
We'll move past this here. All 3 of us somehow managed to find people who wanted to stay with us romantically and enjoyed our company for some reason. This next one here is kind of based on the House of the Dragon, where they get one little miniature, then 5 years later they have thousands of little miniatures, which I think has happened in most of our houses here. But this is kind of question for both of you. What is the most understanding your partner has ever been in relation to Warhammer? The shout out to the people who put up with us for some reason.
I currently have taken over like a third of our dining room between a 3D printer and a hobby desk setup and model storage. I think that's the most understanding that my partner has ever been about the model situation. Although there was also the one time where I was painting gaunts and then I had to put them someplace to dry and they had magnets in their bases. So I stacked them all over the radiator so they could dry. And so there were like 80 gaunts stuck to the radiator in the living room.
I think that's a missed opportunity to go into the kitchen and have your wife or your girl be like, why are there 80 gaunts stuck to the fridge? You'd be like, they're just drying. Like, don't worry about it.
We have a bug
going back-
infestation. I don't know what to tell you.
Going back to this this Slaanesh stuff, Disflux at like AP -6 question mark. But I let him know that AP -4 was more than enough for the job at hand. But Danny, what is the most understanding your wife's ever been?
Well, I would have said that it was when she let me go to a tournament on her birthday one year.
It's true. It's pretty understanding.
It's pretty friendly.
That's pretty
And
understanding.
then and it was a Saturday too. Like it was a really primo day. I was very lucky that day. Anyway.
I think every day since, but sure.
Yeah, and then so the latest though, and this one has superseded it, is when I made plans to go play on a tournament on our anniversary. without thinking about it. And I said, "Hey, are you ready? Like, I've got this. I'm going to this event. I'm just letting you know it's on this day." She's like, "Yeah, are you? Are you going to that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think so. I'll be done with school." She's like, "Yeah, and you'll be done with this marriage." So I had to quickly reassess what was going on there, and make
You're
some
like,
promises.
what are you
So
talking about? You're like, what are you talking about? I don't understand.
it took
Need a
me
quick
it took me
tactical
a bit,
retreat.
a minute. So
Well, moving on past that, by the way, our partners are amazing. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
they
what
are.
you do.
We're very lucky.
Yeah, thank you, my wife, for letting me take over our bedroom closet for 2 years to fill this shit in, and for many other things. But I found this one here. This is, I classify this one as model review. It says, Mini looks like a generic guy in his shit. Typical GW new sculpts. So, guys, how do we feel about the Monopos models that have been coming out of GW?
what is this supposed to be an indictment of?
Oh, we're gonna tell you which model he's talking about later. But first off, we're gonna talk about how you guys feel about the Monopos models that have been coming out. So before, like late 90s, early 2000s, the kits that were coming out were very posable, and there's a lot of options for what you can do. And now they seem to be very generic. Like, this is the pose you get. What are your feelings on that?
Get good at modeling, scrub.
Yeah, I don't think any model is truly monopose.
If you try hard enough.
Yeah, believe me, I can bend it into a different shape.
Get some hobby saws or something. Cut your model's arms off. Reposition them. Do something.
What is so to split it into two, sort of the multi-pose era and the monopose era? What do you guys feel is the best release of the multi-pose, where you got to decide sort of like the positioning, the weapons, all that other kind of stuff? For me, Space Marine Captain, like classic Space Marine Captain, was just a crazy awesome kit.
That was a really good kit. I really liked like the Vanguard and Sternguard veterans as well. I thought those were really awesome. Gave you a lot of posability. Especially just all the multi-part plastic Space Marines had so much versatility. You could really do a lot with them.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What about smoothing, Nathan? What do you think is the greatest release of like the Monopos? What's your favorite model that's been released recently?
I really like the Parasite of Mortrex model. It's not really a multi-pose model. It's a monopose model, pretty much.
Yeah, it's
but
beautiful.
It's a beautiful model.
And I didn't realize how annoying it was on the table until I played against it, and then I got really annoyed by Ripper Swarms like very quickly.
Yeah,
it was really good when there was a point where you could, when the gestation sac was a little bit better, and you could just have it vomit Rippers wherever it went.
Mm-hmm.
There was a nice moment where you had the CP to do that.
Yeah. What about you, Danny? What's your favorite model of the modern era?
Let's see. Probably like Lord Croak.
Yeah,
like that model's really fucking cool.
Age of Sigmar is like just streets ahead for model
really
quality. It's insane. Like I don't know how I'm not thousands of dollars in debt to that.
The Lion is a really great model. I can't wait to see what people do with him for a paint job.
Yeah, because I didn't know if he was monopose or not, but he does look pretty monopose. He's probably the best 40K model that I've seen since I started the hobby. He's almost an Age of Sigmar model good.
Yeah,
he's
for sure.
Yeah, he's really rad.
So kind of going back here, we're going to pull this up again here. It's a recent miniature this guy was talking about here when he says the mini looks like a generic guy and his shit typical GW new sculpts. It was the Lion he was talking about.
What?
Yeah, those
the best, one of the best 40K sculpts I've ever seen.
Generic.
Yeah. Generic.
Okay.
Just looks like a Space Marine. Like,
I mean, that makes sense. They should be thematically coherent, bud.
They should be.
Wow.
But yeah, Nathan, it's a beautiful model. You gotta love it. We're gonna move on now to little known facts. And by the way, yeah, the Lion is a fantastic model. And if you don't think so, you have just awful opinions and you're a trash person. But I found this Hashi on Discord on Twitter sent this out here. It said, "You there, yes you. What's a little known fact about Warhammer that would make other people lose their shit?" Some examples he gave here. was that Tau have hooves and therefore can climb near vertical surfaces like mountain goats. Tau's staircases are all at pretty much a vertical 90-degree angle, which is why human helpers live in separate houses. That blew my mind. I didn't think about them climbing up cliffs weirdly. Now that's an image I can't get out of my head. This one here for orcs, red doesn't actually make orc vehicles go faster. Their mechs paint vehicles that have better parts red due to subconscious association and say the color is responsible. We have, and Zicky, feel free to chime in here as well. Before the Void Dragon was introduced, machines were under Khorne's domain, and he was the reason AI is always turned into murder bots. And then, Danny, finally, this one's here is for you. The 40K universe's timeline deviated from ours in the 1960s thanks to JFK and Marilyn Monroe. Why don't you take us through that one?
I have no idea. What are they talking about?
Well, what they're saying is in the 1960s, 40K was caused due to JFK and Marilyn Monroe. How?
Like due to their affair?
I mean, possibly. Like, this was just a random comment I found on Twitter, so it has to be factually accurate.
Yeah. Somebody said these 40K facts will surprise you, and then
Okay, I'm
They
surprised.
a lot of them were in-character Twitter accounts pretending to be Roboody Gilliman and other people, and that was just all. I think we already passed the most cringy thing we've seen recently. I'm not going to go back to that one. But what, guys, is a little-known Warhammer fact that would make other people go insane that you think you know?
What? Who goes
aren't
crazy over a Warhammer 40,000 fact?
also these aren't
Nerds who
facts,
invest
right?
too much
Is this
time and money.
Are we trying to say facts that we would invent to make Warhammer 40K fans?
I mean,
can
I'm
invent
gonna
some
be-
facts that
I
are
got some good
wild,
ones.
dude.
Yeah.
Like you've never.
I'm gonna be real with you
facts
guys.
like these before.
All three of you guys, I will not fact check any of these.
Oh,
That's going to
perfect.
take a lot of time.
So
So yeah, what are some of the
Magnus,
facts
in
you have?
fact, did a lot of things wrong, and that is actually just a 40K fact.
That is.
Yeah,
It's true.
In
It's
fact,
true.
just a 40K fact.
Just to like make sure I fulfill my promise. Space Marines don't have a penis. They have 3.
Oh. Not just one.
You had me in the first half, and
Yeah.
then you brought it
There.
back with the
Got 'em.
second.
Are they like all together, like a little weird claw?
Well,
Or is it,
so,
like,
yeah, there is one
sporadically-
opposable peni that kind of bends in the other direction that the other two, so it can hold things, but it usually doesn't. And
You
much
just have
like
the fight scene where the Space Marine's fighting the demon, and the demon grabs one hand, and then the demon grabs the other hand, and then it gets punched. It gets Space Marine
Just rattled by
dick
3 different
punches
fists
him.
at
just
the
gets
same
chain
time.
sorted due to the Space Marines adept handling. Amazing. And they can
God.
they can spit acid
Uh.
too, just like the Betcher's clan gives them Space Marines the ability to spit acid. Well, it's not
That's
just
true.
spit.
Chat's coming in here saying Space Marines have duck DNA. I think if Space Marines had goose DNA, that would be even deadlier.
Only
um,
Primaris
specifically.
have 3.
It's the extra organs, Daddy.
It's the
and then,
2
yeah,
new
this-
organs. Yes, the 2 new organs.
Oh man, it's the called chode that they get. That's the extra one.
the Calrissian chode.
Damn it, no.
Oh my god. Amazing.
Oh, God, no.
Dickie, you said you had something. What you got?
Oh, so I've gotten into fights in hobby stores because of this. So the Emperor
Hell
is
yeah.
actually willing Abaddon to come rescue him. See, look at
To put
Danny's
him out.
already so mad.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
Well,
why?
does
I
that mean?
want to know who you got into a fight with. Like, was it a real fight or was it like
no,
a
it's a
yelling
nerd fight. It's a nerd fight, so it's just a lot of
Okay.
yelling and
Or slapping?
glasses pushing up and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, it was big time.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna
serious.
push up my
then. All right,
glasses. Hey,
all
I'm
right.
gonna put them on.
Yeah, man.
Actually, I'm gonna put on
Yeah.
my glasses.
Yeah,
I'm gonna push them up and be like, "That's weird." And
They're like, that
stupid."
doesn't make any sense.
And you're like, actually,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
he's.
I have a doctorate. Thank you very much.
Oh my god, this appeal to authority. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, here,
merely
I'll
a
add that.
skeleton attached to a machine.
Yep.
Quality stuff. Ooh.
Very
Guys, last week was April Fool's, and I planned to do a lot more of them, but all of the jokes were a bit shit. There was this guy here that I found that was posted here, where it says, "Holy moly, Henry Cavill just released a trailer. Warhammer 40k, The Emperor's Blade movie teaser." I got just so you know, it's an April Fool's joke. I did do some of my own research into this. Danny, why don't you take us through the next slide, which is where I added my notes on this to prove that it was a false joke.
Last name is actually Johnson. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's Henry Johnson.
Yeah. Warhammer 40,000 literal meme site, not meme posting. This is Gareth Borg, bad guy in Star Trek. Oh yeah, the Borg. That's correct.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, the Borg are a bad guy in Star Trek.
And that says Henry doesn't have weird nubs.
Yeah, nubs. Like on his forehead, he has some weird nubs there. Like Henry Cavill doesn't have that.
Yeah. Well, you know, John, they have this thing that they can do in the movies. It's called makeup.
No.
Anyway, it says
you're telling me Will Smith didn't go through blue paint?
Porn. Oh, well,
No.
John, that doesn't preclude this. I mean, I think that we all watch a lot of altar porn.
That's true. That's true.
You're missing the last one, Jenny. You didn't talk about it.
Is there one more?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
penis.
Yeah.
Oh, his chin.
His chin.
It does,
Nailed it.
It does kind of look like a penis.
It's literally a penis right there, guys. Did you see any good April Fool's jokes this year that you want to bring up? Because I didn't even include the Warhammer community one, which was not great.
I thought that video was great. I thought that was funny.
They actually spent money on it too. Like they had to hire an
There was
actor to
actually-
come in and do it.
There was one point where there's like a little run happening with the guy like with the hammer, and I giggled at that part. Also, I definitely changed our fitness channel on our Discord to Adeptus Exorcistus because I thought that was great. I didn't really see anything super great this year for April Fools, unfortunately.
I think we've got to a point with voice cloning and AI at a point where it's just scary now. And it's not funny. It's just genuinely terrifying. Like there's so many things I want to do and have the ability to do that I've done halfway and I've been like, oh no, I don't like this at all. Yes. Terrifying.
Yeah, one thing that John has been using to blackmail me to continue to do this show is he's made this racist rant with my voice and saying he's going to threaten to release it to the public.
That does sound like something he would do.
Only in
Not
short
a
Gone
threat
are-
if you do it.
Gone are the days of ThinkGeek just using April Fool's Day to like test ideas for weird
Soft
stuff
launch
that they would
product,
sell.
Yeah.
like the Tauntaun sleeping bag, where you would crawl inside the Tauntaun stomach as a sleeping bag. Gone are the days of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not
We're
the
gonna
days of
skip
the Witch
forward.
Sling commercial.
We're going to skip forward here a couple slides. We have some listener questions that we're going to fill our last little bit of time with here.
Yep.
It's very important. People are very excited that Stats Daddy came on in.
Yeah.
Our first one here comes from Bums. Says, so what happens before GW make Imperial Fists playable again? This is an open question to both of you.
Hell is already frozen over if you follow Dante's Inferno's style of hell.
It's true. Fair. Well, what would warm hell up in order to make Imperial Fists
An
playable
Imperial
again?
Fist release, John, where you didn't have to have Space Marine traits to tie them to crappy ones like the Imperial Fists are, and you can just play whatever you want. Like
I was going to say
what will
Rogaldorn comes
probably
back
happen.
looking for his hand. He comes out of a warp gate. He's like, he walks
Oh, yeah,
into
he
the
just missed
Imperial
one
Fist
hand.
monastery, and he's like,
He's
you guys screenshot my fist
All right, here's
with
a
a bunch of
question.
names.
Yeah. Who's
I
been
wouldn't read
graffitiing
past
on my
that.
bones?
Do you think that he would have a hook, or just like
No.
the end of an
Oh.
eraser, but like a fist?
The
Well, see,
chainsaw.
now-
It's his chainsword as his fist in like a.
Now I
Ash
have
Evil
to
Dead
buy
kind
the
of thing.
30k model and put like a pirate hook on the end of his hand there. That's the only. I just want him to have like a bunch of like hook wounds on his head from when he's gone to scratch his head,
What do you,
and he's forgotten he has a hook, so he just keeps hooking himself.
what do you
He's a
use to
Primarch, he doesn't
reinforce for sieges? Would it just be a hammer and or a shovel to dig ditches?
I think he uses millions
For
of
the witches.
indentured lives.
Well, yes, that too, but that's hard to represent with a tool attached to his wrist.
A torch.
Sure.
A laser. It's just a laser pointer that's like big there.
Yeah, it's a PowerPoint presentation controller. That's
And
what
a projector.
It is.
It's perfect.
It's a projector. It's a multi-tool. It's got all the things all in one.
Oh man, quality. Next question here from Nick Aquino. This is sure going to tank the entire show. Which is your favorite Star Wars character? Jyn Erso, Cassian Andor, K2SO, Shirat, Baze, or Borg Galette? I think this is in reference to last week's discussion on Rogue One. Guys, I'll let you take this away.
The big sarcastic robot, John, is the coolest.
The big
character.
sarcastic robot, K2SO4.
K2SO, yeah, for sure. I would say Cassian Andor because I very much enjoyed his series.
Did you?
No.
I found it to be slow.
I think that was necessarily. I think it needed to be to tell the story they wanted to tell because they
guess.
had. Well, I
got
killed the
bored.
show last time I talked about Star Wars. We asked the question. Thank you so much, Patreon.
Isn't the Andor
Gonna
show
move on.
already over though?
It is already over.
Okay.
Are they doing
here's a-
another season of that, or is it like Obi-Wan and it's just done?
I
It was
hope
just
it's
one
one and
season
done.
and it's done.
One and done, baby.
I hope it's one and done. This one here is apparently a repeat question Mark wanted to ask to make sure we got Dr. Stats question. Dr. Stats, if you had to choose between changing an ogre's diaper or drinking a pint of fluid from a 100-year-old princeps amniotic tank, which would you pick?
Oh.
The amniotic tank, because
Oh.
in theory that's filtered regularly.
Well, maybe.
I don't know what goes what's going to happen into that Bulgrin's diaper. I don't know,
It's
man.
just once though, and then you're done. Like that's 1,000 years of seepage.
1,000 Years of Seepage, by the way, is the name of Danny's punk band. That's
It's a good punk
that's a
band,
new
actually.
release coming soon.
That's
Yeah.
actually pretty good.
We like to talk about incontinence.
Mm.
Amazing. Moving on here, Kriegerbot Chaz. This one is specifically for you, Nathan. For dice statistics and calculating how much firepower is required, does Statty Daddy prefer Bayes' theorem or probability, which is P times A equals F divided by N?
Niner.
Why? Just if you can do Bayes in your fucking head at a table side, fucking do it. But just use probability like a normal person, please, instead.
And I know
Like-
probability is easier because it was covered in my remedial math class I have to take.
Mhm.
I just, if you can actually do some of the really complex statistics calculations at the table side before rolling your dice without running out your clock, all the more power to you. Also, it's funny because I think I have to remind people occasionally that I'm a biology doctorate, not a math doctorate. So I know how to do statistics, but it's funny when people approach me with like actually more involved mathematics questions.
Now he can talk about ovaries all day.
I
but,
can.
specific theorems. No.
No.
So
not
be sure
today.
next time you see him at your local tournament scene, or if
Mhm.
you ask questions on the show, please ask him about the reproductive process.
Right
as well
about the
as
female
science.
reproductive
technology.
process
Oh
specifically.
yeah, we tried to
like,
specifically. We
he
tried to ask
doesn't
him about
know
this
shit
earlier.
about dicks, boys. So just make sure you get the questions.
Yeah.
Focused to the
He
right
thinks
audience.
4 inches is not enough.
Right.
Our last question here comes from good old Bits Hammer. This one was also directed at Val, but we'll have stand-in Val answer this too. How do Danny and Val feel about the Lumineth Realm Lords as a successor to the High Elf lineage? Are they elfy enough, too elfy, or somehow not elfy?
I think they're great models. I think they kind of fit that role pretty well. I think the initial releases, like the Blade Masters and the Sentinels and the Wardens and the Dawn Riders, were all really good and really fit the high elf like aesthetic. I don't know if like the Kangaroo Tree Hoppers are like really great for like
Dude,
like
they're
old
regal as
world
shit.
models. The models look super cool. The Bolt Throwers look great. Like they're rad models. I really like them. I just don't know if they fit into the like entirely in the high elf aesthetic, but they're a good spiritual successor.
Nathan, are you excited for the old world? You can say no. That's okay. You'll be Team John.
The answer is no, I'm not.
Boo.
I think Warhammer Fantasy is the world is pretty generic, unfortunately. I'm sorry, folks. Like, it's fine. I think lizardmen are really interesting, but it's really just a pastiche of fantasy archetypes, and it's not like particularly unique in any fashion.
Oh my
Sorry.
God. Get out of
So-
here with that shit.
so,
What is this
Danny-
garbage? This is the last time we're having you on. That's it. You're fucking canceled.
Rebuttal, Danny. What makes it not just an amalgamation of fantasy garbage?
Every fantasy is an amalgamation of fantasy garbage. Age of Sigmar is just a bunch of fantasy garbage. That's a stupid metric. Does it have really interesting characters and conflicts? Yes. Does it have a world that's both? It kind of fits that happy medium, but like in between like high fantasy and like really like kind of dark gritty fantasy. And I really like that it kind of walks that line pretty hard. So I don't know. I think it has really a lot of really great stories still to tell, and I'm really excited about not still to tell, but in the past that we can tell ourselves. That I think will be influenced by the old world.
What is one thing GW can do that would ruin Warhammer Fantasy for you? Or is there nothing they can do with a new game coming?
I mean, I would say if they had rules for some of the Age of Sigmar factions without any kind of like real compelling information about them, like if they had Stormcast into like fantasy, like it just doesn't really fit, and I don't think I would like that very much.
I think that's reasonable. I think the two universes should remain mostly separate in space.
They can have some crossover models or whatever, that's fine, but like
inevitably, right?
To be fair, aren't they technically the same universe?
Yeah.
Yes and no, right? Yes and no, because it's like
it's so Age of Sigmar, since it's out of time, I guess, kind of like this is such a philosophical question, John.
Dude, I love asking these super deep questions to you when you feel like shit, because I see you want to answer, but then you're like, oh God, my brain fog.
I don't want to.
A minute 20. The minute 20. How can I answer
my
this question?
there are some people who just kind of traversed the universes, like Gotrek, who is just so mad the universe spat him out again.
Yeah, and Drago traveled to the end times. During the end times books, he shows up at one point. So
the best part.
I think like Gotrex just shows up and be like, hey, there's a bunch of like golden guys with like souls that are rapidly depleting based on their death, and there's a bunch of realms, and the dwarves are like, okay, granddad, so go fight slayers now. Like, we don't believe you.
Oh, because Gotrek probably, I don't even know if Gotrek is alive during this, like during when the old world is supposed to take place.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's safe to assume that anything with a current active model that can be ported across will be. That's just pessimistic old John. Pessimistic again. That's a real word. Look it up. Nathan. Sorry, Danny. Rebuttal. Go.
Wait,
what?
Who's rebutting what?
Yeah, what's happening?
I don't know.
Where am I?
Like, wow.
What am I doing here?
What a great moment to wrap this up. Nathan, plug your stuff.
Come watch me, Innes, and Anthony, and then sometimes Jeremy, and occasionally a guest on Stat Check every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube. If you love Discord communities that have like TTS tournaments and stuff like that, you can check us out on patreon.com/statcheck, and you can join our Discord community where you can join that kind of stuff. Otherwise, we have an awesome website, stat-check.com, where you can check out the metadata dashboard that Cliff lovingly curates. It also has our CRS and our ELO ranking systems for players and for factions. So if you want a bunch of stats and ways to use it, you can go to that website, check it out. We also write articles on Goonhammer, so you can go read some of those there as well. Yeah.
Readings for nerds.
Nice.
Definitely
We also have a
do
really
that.
cool show called X and One now. That's like every other Thursday.
It's really good.
That's a really
Cliff
good
and
show.
Tim
Anything-
Penny.
Yeah. Anything that gets
Talking
Tim
essentially-
Penny recording is amazing.
I keep wanting
Yeah,
to
it's all
tell
about-
Tim that he's doing a great job on that. So I hope he's listening. You're doing a great job, Tim.
I hope so too.
Yeah, Tim.
Your ego's too large, Tim. You're doing shit.
Oh.
But
Better.
if
No,
you
I'm kidding.
if
You're
you are
great
a
right now.
busy person who plays 40K, you should go watch X and One because they talk about how to be a busy person and especially a parent and play 40K competitively and well.
Does it rhyme with Unga Bunga?
It does sometimes.
Sometimes. Well, guys, that is all the time we have for today's episode of Grim After Dark. Thank you for joining us as we explore the grim darkness of the 41st millennium and beyond. We hope you enjoyed our discussion, insights, all things Warhammer and Warhammer sort of adjacent. But remember to follow us. If you go to grimafterdark.com, we get all of our links right there in one spot. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button and leave a review. When we get enough subscribers on the channel, we will make Val play 40K.
Yep.
He does not have a choice.
Yeah, we're
Dickie-
shooting for 3,000. We're almost there. We need 100 more, and then we're gonna force Val to play 40K.
That's
Ninth
what a
edition
goal,
40K
guys.
too.
Yep.
Yeah, not even 10th. We're just gonna get him for 9th
Yeah.
and make him do it.
Yeah,
And
maybe
just-
even 7th, just an old edition, maybe.
Dickie's
What
gonna
did he
take
hate?
Imperial. He's gonna take an Astra Militarum against Val's unbalanced army.
Mhm.
But until next time, stay safe, stay Warhammered, and remember, it's pretty grim after dark.
Hey guys, we're out, but we're also live.
Yeah, because we don't turn off the mics at the same part
Yep.
here.
Yeah,
we
and
got
now
the
here's
people to blame.
that
Oh shit, we were supposed to take someone else's last name out of this. I forgot. Maybe we'll just do that until next time.
Well,
That's
don't
fine.
say who they are.
Yeah,
Tyler
don't
Wartel.
okay.
say their name. Mike Murphy.
Oh, there I am. I'm actually on this list. That's right. 'cause I'm a
You give us
Patreon.
money?
Partly your
I
fault.
do give you
What?
guys money.
Oh, thanks,
You
Kelsey,
idiot.
for the $100 for the wall, by the way. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you, Dale City.
That was,
Thanks.
it's too much.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done it. Tanner, thank you for messaging me and telling me I'm a moron for my correct opinions about film.
Sherman, you
yeah,
had some
that's-
classic burns this week. Thank you.
You did.
This is-
You did. You're all beautiful. You're all very funny. Go watch XM1.
Yeah, go watch
Tim's great.
Yep. It's the best content we make on StatCheck.